All right, the gang's all here. Welcome to the Dividend Happy Hour, guys. I'm so stoked to be back with you for another week. I hope you all had a fantastic Friday and a fantastic week overall. Now, why don't we kick this thing off the best way we know how? Grab whatever it is you're sipping on tonight, crack that thing open. There we go. And let's kick it off with a quick cheers. Looks like there's about 56 of us here in the live stream right now, 57 now. And here's to all of you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in with me tonight. And thank you for joining me once again for what's bound to be another fun and exciting Dividend Happy Hour. And also here's to the pursuit of that sweet, sweet cash flow, which really is the thing that's bringing us all together tonight. But anyway, here's to that. Here's to you guys. And cheers. Real quick, guys, let me know a few things here in the chat. All 60 of you right now. Number one, what did you buy this week? What happened in your portfolio? What did you pick up? What's looking good to you guys? Which stocks do you have your eye on? Let me know that in the live chat. Number two, what are you sipping on tonight? As you can see, I got myself another little Sprite Zero here. This has just been my go-to these last handful of weeks. Really enjoying that Sprite Zero. And you know, I gotta rep my set. Gotta support my my Coca-Cola there. So let me know what you're sipping on tonight for the Dividend Happy Hour. Number three, did anything cool happen in your guys' portfolio tonight? Did you hit any new portfolio milestones? Did you, I don't know, anything cool happen? Maybe you guys saw a crazy gain this week. Maybe you saw a crazy loss. Who knows? Maybe you got some crazy dividend increases. Let me know anything cool, any milestones that you guys hit in your portfolio. I want to know all three of those things here in the chat tonight. Let me just go through real quick and say what's up to everyone here. I see Jeff in the building. Dividend Daddy's live in 70 minutes. This was from about, looks like an hour and 10 minutes or so ago. And by the way, guys, check out Jeff's channel if you haven't already. He's putting out some really good investing content. And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but Jeff's like retired. He's like in his early 40s and he's retired. So he's done really well with his portfolio. I think he has a 7-figure portfolio. Once again, I could have this wrong, but it's very impressive stuff. So definitely check out his channel. You guys will like his stuff. I see Eric in the building who wants to trade TSLY for literally anything at all. That's kind of funny. We got Niatushi here's first time in the live stream. Welcome. Happy to have you aboard. I hope you enjoy the stream tonight. And then, of course, guys, we got some of the usual I cannot talk tonight. We've got some of the usual suspects. I see my man Shamir. What's up, Shamir? I see Wing Addiction. Good to see you. Charles is here. Chris, Rick, Pat's in the building all the way from the Gulf of Mexico. Pat, I hope you're having a good trip. I remember you telling me that you were going to be gone, but hope you're enjoying it out there. Hope you, throwing back a couple margaritas in my honor. Do so for me. But let's see. We got Shannon. Happy Friday. Anthony's here. What's going on, man? We have Kevin in the building who slips in quietly. We've got Reloider. Good evening, fellas. There you go. We got Go Hard Brother here who's ready to get the party started. Love it. We got Ricardo. Who else? We got the Lean Mean Dean Machine. Good to see you, my friend. Dorte's in the building. It's 2 a.m. over in Denmark, apparently, drinking Pepsi Max. Wow, good stuff. Good stuff. We got Striper Kid. There you go. Philip's here. First time in the stream, Philip. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for tuning in tonight. And just so all you guys know, any of you guys who are new to the stream, in case this is your first time tuning into the Dividend Happy Hour, we do this every single week. This is a weekly event on Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So come prepared with cocktail in hand, ready to chat about some cash flow every week. Let's see who else we got here. We got Jim, Phil, and I'm at the point in the chat now where you guys are telling me about your purchases and whatever you're sipping on. We got Jim drinking a Bud Light Chelada Tall Boy. There you go. I actually don't think I've had any of those. Phil picked up some Pepsi and Nike, good pickups, and then UNH on the watch list with the recent nosedive. There you go. Good stuff. Yeah, Duroc says sound is kind of low. Any of you guys noticing that as well? I haven't changed anything on my end, so maybe your volume's just low. I don't know, but yeah, let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Stranger things have occurred. And I've certainly had my technical difficulties here on the stream before. Let's see, Charles drinking a vanilla Coke. We've got Lucas in the building. Good to see you, man. Dean picked up some Bristol Myers Squibb this week. Good stuff. Christian, howdy neighbor. What's up, man? Beautiful day in Las Vegas today. And we got some rain earlier this week, which was really nice, actually. I really enjoyed that. Couple good days of rain here in Vegas. And decent amount of snow on the mountains as well. Let's see here. We got Reloider picked up some Microsoft, Visa, and VUG, sipping on some Mexican Coke. There you go. I picked up a little Visa this week myself. I actually bought 2 shares. I bought one on Monday, and I bought one more share today. I actually forgot to update it in my spreadsheet, so maybe I'll do that later. Not a big deal. This is kind of cool. Rick picked up his 99th share of Pfizer this week. That's a pretty cool milestone. So next week you'll have to go for that that even 100. We got Shannon sipping on some sipping on some AWR. There you go. Shannon picked up some AWR this week. American States Water, great company. Dividend King, nice water utility. We got Peter with a nice shopping spree. SCHD, Realty Income, and Enterprise Products Partners. There we go. Ben started the Starbucks position with 10 shares. Not a bad way to go. I actually bought a little more Starbucks this week as well. But yeah, Starbucks is looking like, don't even get me started on Starbucks. We talked about it all last week. Looking like a good pickup. And actually kind of not really related to Starbucks, but as far as topics go, I didn't even mention tonight, guys, we're talking about, and I know you gathered this from the title, we're talking about something that's called the boring middle of investing. And I'll explain what that is here momentarily once we kind of get a little bit more warmed up here in the chat. I'm about 5 minutes behind, so I'll go through a few more of these and we'll get into the main event. But this is something that I think every investor experiences at some point or another. And it was something that I heard about in a podcast earlier this week. And like I said, I'll talk more about this momentarily, but it jumped out to me and it was something an idea that I was chewing on. And so I thought it'd be a helpful thing to share tonight. So I'm excited to talk about it with you guys. So let's keep going. Lucas picked up some Starbucks and Tesla. There you go. Ooh, Chris, I'm having a Ghost Sour Heads classic. Love it. So just so you know too, so Chris is a big energy drink guy. And you might be one time zone ahead of me, actually. You might be on Central Time. I don't think you're on Eastern Time, but either way, it's later where you're at than it is where I'm at. And Chris comes every week with an energy drink. And I'll have you know, man, yesterday I had one of those. I think it's Rise, R-Y-Z-E. I think R-Y-S-E, or maybe it's R-Y-S-E. I don't know. Rise energy drink. It was like a blue raspberry sour punch straws, you know, those candy, that type of flavor. I had one of those at about 2:30 yesterday afternoon, and dude, I was wired the whole rest of the day. I ended up not getting to sleep until probably midnight, which is like probably about 3 hours past my usual bedtime. But yeah, it definitely hit me like a ton of bricks. So anyway, moving on. Dorte had a nice little shopping spree here. Some Altria, Main Street, and LICY. I'm actually not familiar with that one. LICY. Lycycle Holdings Corp. Interesting. We'll have to check that one out later. Let's see. Rich had a nice little shopping spree as well. Kenvue and Kimberly-Clark, some nice staples there. Good stuff. Interesting. Jordan says, was going to buy some more Blue Owl, but I saw the dividend yield went way down. So that would only be because the share price went way up. Blue Owls has had a great year. So OBDC is up, I think, over 30%. Oh, no, I was wrong. They're up about 18% in the last year. So yeah, the yields come down just a little bit, sitting at 9.31%, but still it's like, man, that's pretty respectable yield. I would not turn my nose up at that at all. Let's see. Let's keep going. Almost caught up here in the chat, I'd say. Ooh, El Dynamico. Cheers, my friend. Also sipping on a little Sprite Zero. Just hits the spot. Okay, let's see. Some other cool milestones. I see some Wing Addiction crossed 50 shares of Realty Income. That's great. And hit 30K in the portfolio. Really nice milestone. Korean Cardboard, 22K in the portfolio, started at 14K. Great job, making some great strides there. Let's see here. Just keep going. Pat's at an all-time high in the portfolio. Pat over in the Gulf of Mexico. Sitting at an all-time high. My portfolio, I think a lot of our portfolios are at an all-time high, which is such a bittersweet thing, right? We don't have to get into it because we always talk about that, but there we go. Jeff, I'm actually revealing it in Sunday's video, my friend. I'm a full-time YouTuber, stay-at-home dad of 2 crazy kids, aka Jeff is living the dream, guys. So yeah, that'll be an interesting video. I'll be looking forward to that. Let's see. Okay, interesting. Kevin, realign my portfolio. Sold off a couple positions to open Vici Properties. Yeah, nice. Uh-oh, Sir Dude Bro, man. I may have cracked the 500 a year in dividends between my taxable and Roth. Good job. That's a really cool milestone. cool little benchmark there. So 500, that's almost 50 bucks a week, or excuse me, almost $50 a month. So that's 40, how much? 41? No, between 41 and $42 on average per month. That's really good, right? Do I have that right? I don't know. You guys will let me know. I think I'm right. Let's see here. Dylan, first time making it live. Dylan, good to see you, man. Thank you for tuning into the Dividend Happy Hour. So, Cody says, I have a plan I would like your advice on. I would love to hear about it, but hang in there. Let's get through this main event talking about the boring middle of investing. And then I would love to hear about this plan. So save it for just a few minutes. Hold tight on it. Because we can talk about it. I'm sure the chat's going to have some thoughts on it too, so it'll be cool to get into it. So I apologize, guys. I skipped over some of your guys' comments. I just scrolled down all the way to the bottom of the chat, and we are going to get into the main event. So looks like there's about 140 of us in the stream right now, and in case you're just kind of hopping in, tonight we're talking about something called the boring middle of investing. And I first heard about this. I mean, the concept itself is not new, and as I start explaining it, you guys will definitely understand the concept. But I first heard about it in the most recent episode of the Dividend Talk podcast. This is it right here. And if you guys are not listening to the Dividend Talk podcast, it's one of the better, I'd say one of the best dividend investing podcasts out there. A couple of European guys, really, really great podcasts. And they have kind of an interesting twist on things being from Europe. So, but anyway, they had a guest, the Canadian dividend investor on, who I think has a bigger presence on Twitter. I think that's where his main audience is. And the Canadian dividend investor is a guy, I think he's in his late 30s, maybe he's closer to my age. He's somewhere in between 30 and 40. And he's actually, from what I remember, he's actually retired and living off of his dividends. And he's been doing it for over 20 years. He started really young. But in this podcast episode, they were talking about something called the boring middle of investing, which in a nutshell is the point at which the novelty wears off. And you guys know how it is. You start something new, and at first it's extremely exciting, right? Like you get into it, whatever this new thing is, and you're so stoked about it. Sometimes it gets to the point of just being straight obsessed with it. But then at a certain point, once you kind of get in the groove and kind of get going down it, and kind of just spend some time with whatever this new thing is, at some point, the novelty starts to wear off and the honeymoon phase is over, as they say, and you find yourself left in this boring middle. And in this boring middle, things are normal. Okay. Maybe things start to get a little bit monotonous, and whatever it is you're doing starts to lose its luster a little bit. And then all of a sudden, this thing that you were just recently so obsessed over, this thing that you ate, slept, breathed, this thing that was probably annoying you were talking about it so much, kind of just becomes, yeah. It's no longer so much an obsession. It's just kind of this thing that you do. And it's a part of your normal routine. It's a part of your life. And, that's definitely something that happens with investing. I think this is something that every investor goes through, and it's not just limited to investing. I've gone through this with personally, I've gone through this with quite a handful of other things, and I'm sure you guys have had as well. But really, this boring middle can happen with any new thing that you get into. But anyway, it kind of looks like this. As it pertains to investing, it kind of looks like this. So let me jump over to this next slide. Here's you when you first start out, right? This is all of us as brand new investors. You start to invest, or you start to embark rather, on the long journey to financial freedom. We know it's going to be a long journey. It's going to be a pretty, lengthy climb. And when you're first starting out, it's okay though. Everything's new and you're getting exposed to everything for the very first time. So it's really exciting. You're learning all this new information. You're starting to get your first taste of passive income, really. You're starting to get those first few dividends come in, which is a very exciting thing. It's a very addicting thing. And in general, you're hyped on the fact that you're, doing something positive for yourself. You're stoked that you're bettering your financial future. It's a really exciting thing. And it's, at least in my case, I don't know if you guys are or were the same way, but when I first got into investing, I just was probably pretty preachy about it, just being like, no, you need to do this. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Everyone needs to be investing. And I still think that, but probably shoved it a bit more down people's throats just because I was so stoked on it. And, like I said, you saw the end of the road. You daydreamed about reaching financial freedom and someday having all of your dividends pay your bills. And it's an exciting thought still, but when you first get into it and the light bulb kind of first starts to go on, you can be a bit obsessive about it, which, I guess there's worse things you could really get hooked on. But anyway, that's what it looks like when you're first starting out. And like I said, the journey to financial freedom is long, but you've spent so much time daydreaming about it and thinking about it at first, this new thing that you can practically see it. You can practically see the finish line. But then after a while, maybe, sometime after the first year, after the first couple of years, sometime in the first few years that you start investing or doing whatever this new thing is, let's just leave it with investing. Obviously, that early excitement can start to wear off. Nothing's really new anymore. Okay, you've acquired a lot of that beginner information you need to get started and get the ball rolling and feel confident in what you're doing. At this point, once you're a few years in, you're used to seeing those dividend payments coming in every month. And although you're still making progress in your portfolio, you're probably still investing every week or every month and reinvesting your dividends. Maybe that progress feels, I don't know, like a bit slower. For some reason, the progress isn't exciting and doesn't feel as impactful. And I think this can happen for a couple reasons. But as an example, like maybe, when you first start investing, when you first get into it, those first few milestones or those first few benchmarks in your portfolio, and there's tons of different ways we can measure this, but let's just look at like portfolio values, just for a simple example. When you first start out, you hit your first $1,000 in your portfolio. That's super exciting. Those first four figures is great, and you're on cloud nine, and it feels like such a huge accomplishment. And then the next, I'd say, big benchmark from there, the one that you're probably most excited about is like 1,000's cool, but wait till I get to 10,000. Like that's the next milestone, $10,000 in your portfolio. And obviously there's these little things along the way that happen in terms of dividend income or, whatever it is, but just sticking to portfolio values, those are probably the first big two, 1,000, 10,000. You're probably going to hit those in the first, depending on how much you're investing and how well your portfolio does, you're probably going to hit that in the first potential year, the first couple of years for sure. And so you hit those and it's really cool and it's really exciting. But from that point, once you hit, I think that about that $10,000 mark in your mind, at least this was the case for me, the next really big goal is like $50,000 in the portfolio. And once again, obviously there's these things along the way, 20,000, 25, 30, 40, there's those smaller stepping stones along the way, but that next big goal, that next really, really cool thing, the next white whale is 50K. Yeah. 1K was cool, 10K was cool, but 50K, man, that's nice. Halfway to six figures. Yeah, that's the one I'm looking for. That's I have that in my sights now. And then from there, 100,000, 1,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, which obviously those last two, the 50,000 to 100,000, those next two benchmarks takes a lot longer to reach than the first 1,000 or the first 10,000. And so I think that's one of those things that once you hit those first couple of goals, the novelty from there kind of starts to wear off, or maybe that's where it seems like the progress isn't as substantial because the next benchmarks, the next big benchmarks you're trying to reach are so much farther away than the first couple that you were working towards. But anyway, no matter the case, the point is that you're used to it all. You're used to those dividends. You're used to, you've got the information, and investing has gone from being this thing once again that you can't stop thinking about, this thing that was really cool, and you just had these really cool couple of things happen, $1,000 in the portfolio, $10,000, whatever dividend income milestones have come along with that so far. These things have happened, and it's gone from being this thing that you're obsessed with to now, like I said, just being this thing that you do. And I think every investor reaches this point somewhere along the way, probably multiple times in your investing journey. You do something for long enough, it doesn't matter what it is. You do something for long enough, it's going to have its dull periods. And investing, one of those things that you're going to do across multiple decades, it's bound to have these periods where it's not as interesting. It's going to have this boring middle, but I think it's an important point to reach this boring middle, because it's what separates those who are truly devoted to investing from those who, are just kind of doing it and just going through a phase. And with that said, there's a few things that might indicate you've reached the boring middle in your own investing journey. And some of these are going to be very straightforward and pretty obvious, especially this first one right here, guys. The first thing that you'll notice is you start to lose enthusiasm. And this is pretty much what we've talked about up until this point. This is going to be the most easily identifiable indicator. And in my case, I can tell you, like, I've never I've never lost the enthusiasm for investing. I love it just as much today as I did when I first started. But I will say I do go through phases where certain activities and certain things that relate to investing aren't really as interesting to me as they used to be. And a few examples of that, like I used to spend like so much time, probably at least an hour to a couple hours per day, just reading articles on Seeking Alpha, just soaking it all up when I was first getting going and first learning the ropes and really just sinking my teeth into all this stuff. That was, you guys have heard me talk about that a lot over these last few years. And that's been one of my favorite things about Seeking Alpha is having access to all of that stuff. But you get to a point where you've read enough that it's like, okay, I get it. And so, for me, certain things like that just aren't as interesting as they used to be, and it comes and goes. It's ebbs and flows. So that's number one. Number two is things like reading research reports. And this is something that I do pretty regularly, reading Morningstar reports, CFRA reports, Argus reports, which I get for free from Charles Schwab for having my brokerage account through them. They give you all those research reports for free, which is awesome. And it's a really helpful resource. And I usually spend a lot of time reading those. And I've kind of gone from reading Seeking Alpha articles to then that kind of got boring, and then jumping over to reading more research reports. And now I'm kind of like, yeah, I kind of get it. It's once again, it's kind of becoming a bit monotonous. And then even, just being on the hunt for new dividend stocks sometimes, or new companies to invest in, sometimes can be a little bit monotonous as well. You don't always feel like you want to look for that next thing. It's a hard thing to overcome too, because I don't know if you guys feel this way, but sometimes feeling like you always need to be looking at the next big thing or looking for the next thing, where sometimes I'm like, man, especially lately, I just added Visa to the portfolio, and I look at the portfolio and I'm like, things are pretty good. I'm not in much of a rush. I feel like I can kind of just chill out for a moment and sit with this portfolio and enjoy it how it currently is. I don't feel much of a rush or have much of an interest in exploring anything new right now, because I'm just trying to take it all in as it currently is. But anyway, those are a few things that at least for me that I go through phases with. And it's not like permanently I'm not interested in reading stuff on Seeking Alpha, or I'm never going to read research reports again, or never going to look for stocks again. It's just you go through phases where that becomes the case. And this boring middle overall is a symptom of that. And it's something that ebbs and flows. It's something you probably will come in and out of multiple times throughout your investing journey. But loss of enthusiasm, that's the first indicator for sure. Moving on to the second one, though, this one right here, you might start to question yourself. With this loss of enthusiasm, you might start to, really go back and ask yourself what you're even doing all this for, and ask yourself questions. Is it okay if I don't read what's happening on Seeking Alpha every day? What if I don't listen to Johnson & Johnson's quarterly earnings call? What if I never reach financial freedom? What if this doesn't work? And what if I've done everything up until this point and it's all for nothing? You might start asking yourself those questions. And personally speaking, some of those I've not asked myself, but like I've never questioned necessarily, if this is all going to be worth it, or if I'll ever get there. Because I truly do believe, if you just keep at it long enough, you'll eventually get to where you're trying to go. But some of those other things, is it okay if I don't listen to this earnings call? Is it okay if I have no idea what the latest news is on this company or that company, or around the world of dividend investing? So those questions, you'll find yourself asking those questions as well. Is it okay if I kind of just chill out, or am I a bad investor if I'm not, constantly in tune with what's going on? I think these are questions we probably ask ourselves from time to time. Let me go back and look at my notes. But anyway, you ask yourself those things, because going back to what I was saying, some of those things can just get a little bit monotonous, reading all the reports and keeping up with the day-to-day stuff, which oftentimes has a pretty short shelf life. And so I think that's one of the side effects of doing this for a period of time too, is you start to figure out some of the things that are worth spending time on, and some of the things that are not. And so maybe that's where those questions come from. But anyway, long story short, some of these things that you do as an investor can just start to feel monotonous. And in that monotony, from there, actually, to counteract that monotony, you might start to feel the temptation to do something, right? To switch things up and keep things interesting. You might feel tempted to add a new stock to your portfolio, or then sell out of a stock in your portfolio or completely change your entire investing strategy altogether. And you start to do these things out of boredom just because you think that doing something is better than nothing. And that's actually not the case. That's actually one of the interesting things about investing, which is different than other things that you can get into. Like working out's another example where you can have this boring middle where things don't the bench press is not as fun as it used to be, or certain exercises aren't as fun, or certain movements aren't as fun. So you have to find ways to switch it up and keep it interesting for yourself. And the same rule does not apply to investing. Something is better than nothing, or excuse me, that rule doesn't apply to working out. Something is always better than nothing for that. But with investing, you don't have to completely reinvent the wheel. You don't have to change things up every time you get bored. Um, which we'll talk more about momentarily. There's a quote I want to share from you guys on that. But all of this stuff begs the question, knowing that these are the symptoms of the boring middle, how do you overcome the boring middle? How do you get through that and survive? And, to quote the Doors, break on through to the other side. I love the Doors. Hopefully you guys do too. But one of the best places to start is knowing is half the battle. Just knowing you're kind of in that boring middle. Um, is a big step in the right direction. And the first place to start is to acknowledge that you're there. And like I said, as the saying goes, knowing is half the battle. And from there, once you know that, um, do like you do with working out, switch up your routine a little bit. Now, I mentioned don't completely reinvent the wheel, don't completely change things around, but switch up your routine in a different way. Instead of doing these things, forcing yourself to do some of these things that are a bit monotonous and maybe a bit dull or whatever, do different things to break up the monotony. If something you're doing is boring you, like reading Seeking Alpha articles or reading research reports or listening to the same podcast that maybe just isn't scratching the itch for you anymore, take a break from that stuff for a while. It's okay. It's going to be there when you come back. There's still going to be news on Visa. There's still going to be news on Intel. There's still going to be news on Coca-Cola. Most of it's not going to be important. You're probably not going to miss too much. And if there is something that is crazy and worth knowing, I'm sure you'll, hear about it through the grapevine one way or another. And this process of switching up your routine is something that, yeah, I've certainly had to do this multiple times. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier. I used to, well, with the Seeking Alpha articles, those tended to get boring. And from there, but I wanted to stay engaged. I wanted to continue learning and keep developing the skill set. And so you look for different things to do outside of that, because there's so many different ways to learn and get better as an investor. And about that time is when I started picking up books and reading books a lot more, and not just investing books, not just like the Intelligent Investor type books. I mean, those certainly help, but reading other things that interest me, and biographies and books about the companies that I'm invested in, like I don't know if you can see that over there. Onward, Howard Schultz. It's kind of by where I'm pointing, but that's interesting to me, learning more about the companies that I'm investing in and reading about it in books. And that's applicable to investing. So find different ways to stay engaged, that are maybe kind of a fresh take on things that are productive. But anyway, the third thing that you want to do if you're in this boring middle, because you can't stop investing. That's not an option. So if you do find yourself in this boring middle, the third thing you can do and have to do is just keep climbing. You've got to keep going. The thing that you want to do is just keep going. So, so what if investing gets boring every now and again, and, you lose interest in it and you don't feel like researching companies? I think that's the beauty of this style of investing, is you don't always have to be engaged in it. You can kind of tune out to a lot of the day-to-day stuff if you want. As Warren Buffett said, invest in companies that if the stock market closed tomorrow, or if you had to go on a deserted island for 5 years, you'd feel good about having in your portfolio. It's not supposed to be this thrilling, exhilarating roller coaster where you're doing all these crazy things all the time. Investing should be boring. It's a long-term game. And so the results don't happen overnight and quickly. They happen over a long period of time. It can be like watching paint dry, but as it should be. And to close that out with a very classic quote from Charlie Munger, the big money is not in the buying and selling, or rather not the big money is not in all of the crazy moves and the constant tweaking and the constant rearranging, but it's in the waiting, it's in the doing nothing, and it's in the learning. And the learning that you can use to pass the time, to keep things boring, and to, I guess, make the boring middle or the monotony a little bit more enjoyable, and maybe fight off that monotony a little bit. So It's gonna be boring, but you gotta do it, so just hang in there. But with that said, guys, that's my spiel. This whole thing I found pretty interesting, and I wanna put it back on you. Have you guys ever experienced the boring middle in your investing journey? And if so, I wanna know, how did you overcome it, and or how have you overcome it if you've gone through it multiple times? Because I know a lot of you guys out there have been investing for quite a bit longer than I have, but, I thought the idea was quite interesting and certainly applied to what we're doing with investing, not only with what we're doing with investing, but with a lot of things. So anything that you get into and get interested in, I think you can kind of have that honeymoon phase, and then the novelty wears off. So let me know that in the chat. I'm curious to know. And I want to go through the chats right here, the chat right here. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, a lot of good comments. Lot of good comments. So let's see here. Shamir. That's funny. Um, Darth says you need to be hungry all the time for dividend income. Yeah, and I don't think that's something that necessarily goes away. I don't think that we ever get tired of seeing passive paychecks come in. I know I personally don't. I would imagine you guys don't get sick of being paid to do nothing either. But you know, you get used to it. You get used to it's still exciting, but like I said, it becomes this thing that I don't know. I remember when I first got into investing, it was like the whole world opened up in front of my eyes. That's how revolutionary it was in my mind. And when I found this thing, and that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but um, you know what I'm saying? It was like, whoa, why did I not start doing this sooner? This is the best thing in the world. This is better than, free lifetime In-N-Out burger or something like that. But then, as you get going, as you get a few years into it, it's still awesome, and it's still a lot of fun. But um, dividends are just the dividends. They're just there. So I don't know if that makes much sense to you guys, but anyway. Um, Yeah, yeah, totally agree with this too. The dividends do help with the milestones. They are the crumbs along the path, and maybe that's one of the things that helps you get through that boring middle is seeing those dividend payments continue to come in. And maybe one of the things that can force investors to lose enthusiasm is poor performance in the market, right? Like maybe you get discouraged when you see share prices go down. I know, as dividend investors, we're kind of a unique bunch, and we get stoked to see that. But there's a lot of people out there who that can throw them out of the market altogether because they can't take all the red, and they can't, excuse me, take the idea of losing money, even if it's just a paper loss. Um, and but with us dividend investors, we get those dividends in the meantime. So that can kind of help keep that enthusiasm, I suppose. Shamir, did you listen to the latest quarterly earnings call? No, I didn't listen to the call. I haven't listened to the call, but I have gone through the presentation so far from the earnings report. So yeah, but I've got a few on my radar that I need to start going through. Which I don't even know when I'm gonna. Starbucks has theirs on the 30th. I think there's one other company that I own that has it on the 30th. Maybe it's Snap-on, something like that. I don't know. There's one other one that's right around there. Maybe KRC. I think KRC is on the 2nd of February, 1st or 2nd. But anyway, I haven't gone through any quarterly earnings calls yet. Johnson and Johnson gone through the presentation. AT&T have gone through the presentation, and one more. There's one more. It wasn't a presentation, but I just went through the 10Q. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember. Anyway, Jim, Ryan, did you get a new watch? Yeah, well, kind of, sort of. I got this one for Christmas. I've worn it in the videos and on the stream before, I think. But this is my Seiko. I got another Seiko. It's my Seiko tank, and I don't remember the. Let me see if it says it. It's the. What does it say? I don't know. I thought it had the model number on it, but it's a dress watch. So like I've talked about this before, but you know, there's a lot of nuance when it comes to watches. There, in the same way that there's different kinds of stocks. You got high yield stocks, you got dividend growth stocks, you've got stocks in in different sectors. They can each serve a different purpose in your portfolio. The same is true with watches. There's tons of different kinds of watches. You got dress watches like this one. You've got dive watches. You've got, you've got chronometers. You've got other kinds of watches as well that have different functions and features and different looks. So there's a bit of nuance with this stuff, but it's fun. It's been fun. Let's see. And I feel the same way about watch collecting that I do with what I was saying about the portfolio too. It's like, man, sometimes you don't always need to be on the hunt for the next watch. It's like it's nice to just look at the ones you have and just be able to enjoy owning those and just those. And at the right time, the next opportunity will present itself, whether it's a watch or a stock. But you don't always have to force it. And you don't always have to rush it. And I think sometimes finding that stuff organically is I don't want to say sometimes. I guess sometimes is what makes the journey of it all more enjoyable. Is kind of the randomness of finding those opportunities. I actually found one today. That I'm need to spend a little bit more time with. I've only looked at it for about 5 minutes, but it's a shape of an idea that just came completely organically, just a random thought that I had. Maybe we'll talk about that later. Let's keep going through the chat, but let's see. Darth says, be hungry and angry. Angry about what? Man. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to start calling you the Lizard King from now on. You know, the day destroys the night. Night divides the day. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, this is a great point from Shamir too. If things get monotonous and if you want to tune out for a little bit, this is a good option too. Just set your portfolio up to be as automated as you can, so it can be out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, yeah. Tune out the noise in YouTubers who are telling you market crashes do this and just let it ride. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Let's see. Hey, Ma. It's funny. Let's see. Keep going. Yeah, Kevin says everyone behave. There you go. Let's see. Let's see here. Talk about boring. I sold Intel today by accident. Was upset to hear about earnings on Intel. A price started dropping. Put a sell order. 17% profit. Oh. Yeah, Jeff said, I used to do zero reading for fun. Now I read about 40 books per year. Picked it up about 5 years ago. Maybe got a little bored of investing stuff. I come right back though. That's the same for me too. You know, after some time away from doing after some time away from the things that have kind of lost their luster, you always do come back to them. And I think the overall message is just, I guess, allowing yourself those ebbs and flows. And I think that's, once again, that's the beauty of this style of investing, is that you can afford those things. You don't have to be in the tune on every single little detail every single day. And so you can, if you have good companies that you have confidence in over the long term, then you can kind of step away for a little bit and just live life and come back to this. Still, keep buying and keep investing and keep reinvesting. Don't stop doing those things. But as far as keeping up with a lot of the day-to-day news, a lot of the stuff that does have a short shelf life, which is most of the stuff that you probably consume, you can do without it for a little bit if you want, And that's another addition to that thought is, man, we live in a time where we are constantly bombarded with information from so many different sources, so many different types of content, so many different types of information, reading, watching, listening, everywhere. There's always something new to listen to learn. And it can be, it can be a bit debilitating sometimes. It can drive you a little bit crazy. So sometimes you do need to turn that off and just slow things down and pick up a book and set the phone aside and just kind of kick it old school for a little bit, and allow yourself to reset in that way. And then once you do that, you can, you'll actually want to start reading some of the Seeking Alpha articles or the research reports, and you'll want to get back into the loop on what's going on. Yeah, there you go. Adon says, when I was in Europe the other week for work and couldn't check the stock market due to the time difference, I was totally calm because my main position is boring SCHD. There you go. Um, S here says, yes, I'm currently in the boring middle, but I know just keep investing is the best choice. Absolutely. So there you go. Dorte says, only been investing for 3 years, so I'm not bored yet. I made a plan and I stick to it. That's good. There you go. Let's see. Yep. Watch talk is I don't even know if that's one of the official rules. I might need to put that in there if it's not, but if it is, you guys, you got to drink. Which, by the way, the rules to the Dividend Happy Hour drinking game are in the description of the video. Check those out. Ooh, this is a great question. So Trevon says, what companies next week are you looking forward to their earnings? So let's actually jump over to Seeking Alpha real quick, guys. Let's jump over here and see. Let me put it up on the screen. Let's go see what earnings do we have coming up here. So let me first look at which ones. Let's see. I need to go through Visa's earnings too, actually. So okay, so I said Johnson and Verizon was one I looked at too. So Procter and Gamble. So okay, I've gone through this presentation. I've gone through this presentation. They didn't have a presentation, but I went through the 10Q, and then I went through J&J's presentation as well. So I am very much looking forward to. Honestly, I might not listen to these two earnings calls. I might not. I don't know. They're kind of a low priority for me, just because I feel that these are such stable companies. But and I do know there was a little bit of action, a little bit of news. Actually, I was reading about it in the Wall Street Journal about the talc settlement. But otherwise, feel pretty good about J&J. Feel pretty good about Procter and Gamble. Visa, I'll check out that quarterly earnings call because this will be my first one as a shareholder. So I'm excited for that. What else we got here? Let's go upcoming announcement date. So Starbucks. Oh, that was the one I was thinking of. Or I mentioned that already, actually. Starbucks, I'm definitely looking forward to. I'm looking forward to that one. EPD and Altria Group, I'm also very much looking forward to. Who else we got? KRC, I'm definitely looking forward to. That's on the 5th, so that's a little bit of time for that one. Who else we got? I'd say Williams-Sonoma, which is still about, a month and a half out. I'll be very interested to see what they report. Last earnings was pretty solid from what I remember. Lowe's, I'll be interested there. I mean, a lot of these I'm pretty interested in. Realty Income for sure. But I'd say the big ones, if I had to narrow it down to just a couple, Starbucks, KRC, Snap-on, Realty Income, Johnson & Johnson. Or no, Williams-Sonoma, excuse me. So yeah, I'd say those are the earnings that I'm most looking forward to. But what about you guys? I want to hear your guys' response to that here in the chat. So, oh yeah, there you go. Yep, just mentioned KRC as well. So, sorry guys. Also, I do have an announcement before a couple announcements. No, just one announcement. While I should have mentioned it earlier, I meant to do this at the start, but I'll be doing a little staycation on the strip. I was talking about shots, so that made me think of this. Which I do not plan to do any, by the way. It just made me think of the Las Vegas Strip, because that's what you do down there. But I'm going to be doing a little staycation on the strip this weekend, Sunday night and Monday night. So that means that there will be no Walk to 100 live stream this upcoming week. So I apologize. I should have mentioned that at the start of the stream. I meant to, but I totally forgot about it. So, and I'll put out another reminder post probably on Sunday. But yeah, no Walk to 100. So just want to get that out of the way. Let's see. Let's keep going here. Kevin says, I will just brew moonshine, Jim. Jim says, I collect guns. When the zombie apocalypse comes, you can reach for your watch, your gold, your Beanie Babies, your collector coffee mugs. I'm reaching for a gun. Yeah, it's probably a better thing to have than watches for sure. So where's Zal? I've got a parody of 5FDP's song, Five Finger Death Punch. Bad company, but the lyrics are now good company. I will invest. Yeah. Let's see. Let's keep going. I'm actually pretty caught up in the chat here. Pretty well caught up in the chat. Yeah, we got the in-laws coming too. We've got the in-laws coming to town tomorrow. And so they'll be here till Tuesday. I think Tuesday, Sunday night, Monday. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so we're staying on the strip Sunday night and Monday night. So they'll be here tomorrow to Tuesday. So it'll be fun. It'll be a fun few days. I try to get some of my work stuff for next week done, like heading into that. So I've already got next week's newsletter pretty much done. So I'm excited about that, which is actually going to be on this topic. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in the newsletter. So apologize if you're going to read it twice, or get that information twice. So we got another realm new to the channel here for the first time. Thank you, my friend. I'm happy to see you in the stream. And thanks for stopping by the channel. I hope you enjoy it. And just once again, for those of you guys who, if this is your first time to the Dividend Happy Hour, we do this every week, every Friday night. So be sure to tune in. Let's see. Pat says, how are the wedding plans going? Wedding plans are going really well. We actually just booked our honeymoon this week, which is very exciting. So that's going to be happening in July. We're going to go to Cabo, and I got to thank my friend Deval, who hopefully is watching. But Deval was our travel agent, and he's a member of the community. Really good guy, and he helped us book our honeymoon. So that was really cool. So Deval, thank you so much. And let's see. Yeah, so that's cool. Going to send out invitations here pretty soon, but it's just kind of a formality at this point. We pretty much already know everyone who's coming, so it's a pretty small group, so it's pretty easy. Salvatore, what's up, Brian? Love the content. Thank you, man. I really appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate you tuning in. I hope you had a good week and a good day. Phil, any buys planned for next week? Yes, my friend. I'm definitely going to buy some more Visa. I'm going to buy another share of Visa. So I'm up to 6 shares of Visa as of today. Next week, I'll be at 7. I'll probably buy another share of Starbucks as well. If we go over to, let's go back over to the screen and take a look at my spreadsheet real quick. So at this point, guys, and once again, the portfolio is sitting at an all-time high. We're almost at 63K, which is just wild. But going over to my positions here, which, by the way, guys, you can download the spreadsheet for free. There's a link to it in the description. But here's my Starbucks position. I have almost 45 shares. So I'm pretty close to 50 shares. So I figure I'm just going to buy 1 share every week for the time being, until I can at least get to 50 shares. Just make it a nice even 50. Why not? I love Starbucks. It's one of my favorite companies. Not too far from my average cost right now. And so yeah, I figure I might as well chip away a little bit at that while I'm also adding to Visa. It's I don't know. When doing that, I also think, but that money that I'm putting into Starbucks right now, I could be putting that towards Visa, so that could potentially be more Visa money. But man, I like them both. I figure I might as well buy them both. So it's cool. And it's good. Like, I've got just under $1,800 left in the, actually, this is less. It's actually more like about 1,530 after today's Visa purchase. And I haven't updated it in the sheet yet. But it's nice being able to put the cash on the sidelines back to work and get it reinvested in the portfolio. I think it's working out pretty well. So what about you guys? Let me know in the chat too. What do you guys have your sights set on for this next week? I'm curious to know. Okay, Salvatore says, do you buy dividend stocks on stage 1s only? Let's see. What do you mean by stage 1s? Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you mean by stage 1s if you don't mind. I'd love to know what you're talking about so I can answer it. Excuse me. Charles says the question you got asked earlier. What question? What question are you talking about, Charles, my man? The legendary Charles. Oh, guys, have you I don't mean to get off topic, but have you guys seen the show The Traders? Have you guys watched that show, The Traders? Let me know in the chat here. I'm curious to know. Let's see. Yeah, Dean. If you come to Vegas, let me know. It'd be cool to get together. So let's see. Yeah, Trey says, I don't think I've heard you talk about T-Row in a minute. Any updated thoughts? No, not really. I haven't talked about T Row because I haven't really been looking into T Row, but let's take a I mean, I think it's a pretty solid company, but let's take a look at T Row price real quick and see what's been going on. I've kind of just been more so I've kind of just been more so focusing on the stocks in my portfolio, just the companies that I own right now. And so that's why I don't know. That's pretty much why I haven't talked about T Row or probably some other companies that I should have, just because I'm just not paying as much attention to them. I'm just kind of more so focused on my own stuff for now. But anyway, in the last year, they're down 4%. Last month, they're up a little bit, about middle of their 52-week range here. Dividend stats are still looking pretty killer. Nice yield, nice growth rate, nice dividend growth history. This is a triple threat in the dividend department. They've always kind of been that way, though. What's up with their news? Like, if has there been anything interesting going on? Let's see. So assets under management gains 3.7% in December. That's cool. Um, okay. So their AUM's kind of starting to go back up, it looks like. So it jumped 6% in November, so that's good. So I don't know. Um I don't really have any crazy thoughts on T Rowe Price. I've always thought it was a pretty decent company. Um and yeah, I don't know. I still maintain that position. So um let's see. Hmm. Starbucks is in a stage one, going sideways. Four market stages. Stage one is accumulation. Oh, yes. Suggestion. Yes. So, let me scroll back up in the chat real quick. Who was that? It was about a some feedback here. So, Cody, I have a plan I'd like your advice on. Cody, if you're still here, my man, let me know in the chat what's the situation. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of it. So if you're still around, Cody, I'd love to know what your plan is. Ma, I told you about I think I told you about traders, the traders. It's on Peacock. Okay. So let me see. I don't think anyone said anything about. Yeah, you guys are right, Cody. Um yeah, I'll get to the traders in a moment because there's some other really good questions here. But um So, okay, couple questions here. Do you always buy full shares or do you consider partial? No, I will buy fractional shares. I have no problem doing that whatsoever. And I know some people don't like doing that. Some people do not like buying fractional shares. Just seeing that odd number is, they just don't like it. But I'm not one of those. I don't mind at all. So yeah, I'll buy fractional shares for sure, and it'll get to the point with Visa where I will have to buy fractional shares every week at some point. So once I run out of the cash that I have sitting on the sidelines, I'll probably have to start buying fractional shares of Visa, unless I just buy like one share every 3 weeks, basically. But I don't have anything against fractional shares. This is a really good question here. So Yungwan says, "Do you have any idea? Hopefully, I pronounced that right. Do you have any idea about 3M?" I don't have much of an idea about 3M. I sold out of it quite a while ago, and I'm glad that I did. I think 3M's been a pretty iconic business for a long period of time, and their dividend growth streak is certainly impressive, and their products are everywhere. So they have a lot going for them, I'd say, but they also have some things going against them. I think that I think a lot of the litigation stuff they're going through is not ideal, for lack of a better term. And otherwise, even without that, I just don't think the company's been a really great growing company, just because they're so huge already. I just don't think there's too much growth to be found in 3M over the years. So um I don't know. It also wouldn't surprise me, just depending on how the litigation stuff go. And I know they're spinning off their medical technology sector or segment, I believe. Um, I'm a little bit concerned about a dividend cut for 3M coming, or at least them not raising the dividend anymore. That was one of the reasons I sold out of it. And so it's not overall, it's not one that I personally wanted to invest in any longer. And I think in the industrial sector, there's probably some better companies to look at. So, hmm. Let's see. I know Vacation Time says it's too bad Charles Schwab doesn't do fractional ETF shares. I know it's too bad I think about that too. It's too bad. It's really too bad that they don't do fractional shares all across the board. And I kind of wonder why that is at this point. I feel that it's probably only a matter of time before they bring out that function, but I don't know. I don't exactly know why they don't either. They probably would attract more people if they offered fractional shares for everything. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they have a good reason for it, but I'm curious to what it is. Mm, let's see. See, like this is like French to me. Establish support before adding. Stage one, stage four. I just don't. Are these technical analysis terms? If these are technical analysis terms, this is something that's completely foreign to me. Looking at the candlesticks and I don't know. I just really don't. I have no experience with that stuff whatsoever at all. It's definitely not in my wheelhouse. This is a really good question, though. I really do like this question. Do you find it difficult to average up? Yeah, I certainly do. It depends though. Like I'm averaging up right now on Starbucks a little bit, so I don't really mind that too much. But a company like Williams Sonoma or Snap-on, for example, like Snap-on, I think I'm up close to 40%. Williams Sonoma, I'm up over 50%. I have a harder time, even like AbbVie and Apple and Chevron. Chevron's a really good example. My average cost with Chevron's $93.50. And so I think I'm up between 50 and 60% on that right now. And I have and Chevron's come down quite a bit, right? And so it's maybe not a bad price if you're looking to start a position in it right now, but I have a really hard time averaging up on that company with where it's at in relation to my average cost. So I definitely find it difficult. And there's some, like I said, there's some instances where I'll do it. I've averaged up on Procter and Gamble. I've averaged up on Johnson and Johnson. I'm averaging up right now on Starbucks. I'm averaging up also on Visa. So I don't know. It is a tough thing. It really is a tough thing to gauge. So let's see. Yeah, Victor says Schwab does have fractional. They do, but only for certain companies. Like I think it's only companies in the S&P 500 you can buy fractional shares of, but not for every single stock out there, and they don't offer that for ETFs. Oh yeah, you don't need to about the technicals. You don't need to apologize at all. You do not need to apologize whatsoever. You have nothing to apologize for. It's just for full transparency, I'm like, what even is that stuff? I've never heard of it. Just because I just really don't. I really don't. I just feel that for the style of investing that I'm interested in, it's not really something that's for me not really worth spending time on. So, but if you're trading and doing more high frequency stuff, I can understand why it might make sense. So, but yeah, it's something. It's just not something that's in my wheelhouse whatsoever. But yeah, do not feel like you definitely don't need to apologize, man. It's all good. Shamir, does signing up for your newsletter count as a milestone? Yes. In fact, it's probably the biggest milestone you can hit in, gosh, I'd probably say your entire life. So guys, if you want probably the biggest sense of accomplishment you'll ever feel, sign up to the newsletter. There's a link to it in the description of the video. You can see the most recent newsletter article from earlier this week, where I tell you about my top dividend stock pick for this month or this upcoming month in February. But yeah, check out the newsletter, guys. I'm putting that out every single week. That goes out every Thursday morning, bright and early. So if you want to get that delivered to your inbox, definitely subscribe to that. And as time goes on, I'm going to do more and more and more with the newsletter, and I'm going to do more and more stuff on my website through the newsletter. So my ultimate goal is to do a lot more stuff off platform, off of YouTube, I mean. So I think this year I'm going to be working on building out some more of that stuff. But yeah, definitely subscribe to the newsletter, guys. The newsletter, believe it or not, the newsletter is actually growing considerably faster than the YouTube channel. And I think at this rate, there will be a point in time where the newsletter will actually have more subscribers than the YouTube channel. If it keeps going like it has over these next if it keeps going like it has over these next couple of years, I could see the newsletter surpassing the channel. which is really cool to see. I love I just love that both are getting some good reception. But yeah, sign up for the newsletter if you want to check it out. Yeah, there you go. Signing up for the newsletter is the biggest milestone until you get your AARP card. Good stuff. uh, oh, this is a good question. Kind of going back to the, averaging up. How do you decide whether to buy? The charts make me second guess myself sometimes. I think, that's just a really good question. I think, like with Starbucks, for example, I've just kind of eyeball that one in particular and say, it's pretty close to it's pretty close to my average cost. If I felt good about buying it at 90, 91, I'm probably going to be okay buying it at 92, 93. So I think it's just close enough to my average cost that I don't mind buying it. But then, with other ones like Chevron, for example, I don't know. Chevron and Williams Sonoma, that's something that I probably need to overcome and be a little bit more okay with averaging up, because I think both of those are really great companies. And I'd be fine with both of those being larger positions in my portfolio, but they just kind of got away from me in terms of share price, which I guess is good. It's good to see them doing well, but you're less tempted to buy them when you know that you're paying, like a 50% premium compared to when you first started the position. So it's just it's just one of those mental hurdles that you need to overcome, I suppose. So, but then, there's some, like with Visa, I guess, in saying that and trying to overcome that, Visa is one that I am just taking a different approach on. I think it's probably one of the most perfect businesses I've ever looked at. And the more I learn about it, the more I like it. And so with that said, I'm not as concerned about the valuation, because I just look to the future, and at this point, just don't see what's going to stop that company. It would take a lot to take that company down. And it's in such a good financial position that I'm like, yeah, God, it's just hard to say no to this company at any price. Which, there certainly is a fine line, but not a fine line. There certainly is a limit, I suppose, but I don't think I don't think we've reached it with Visa. But anyway, like I was saying, I'm taking a different approach with this one, and having a bit less regard and less concern, I guess, for what the share price is and how it moves. And I'm like, you know what? I think this is a great business. It's a wonderful business. And this is one that I look at, and I would not at all mind having as the largest position in my portfolio, which I think is a pretty big statement. Because I'm so hyped on the ones that I currently have: Johnson and Johnson, Procter and Gamble, Starbucks. Actually, believe it or not, SCHD overall across my entire portfolio is now my number 2 largest position. And I would say in the next couple of months, it'll probably become the number 1 largest position, which is cool. But then as far as individual holdings, I could, like Visa, it just, like I said, I don't know. I just can't think of a more perfect company. So I'm just going to dollar cost average into that one until it gets to that point, I think, until it is like my top dog, or at least in my core, because I want it to be there. And then I'll just chill with it. So let's see. Yeah, and I know a lot of you guys do take this approach. I buy into my core 4 positions every week, regardless of price. Today's price doesn't matter to me. Yeah. 10, 15, 20 years down the road, Apple, Microsoft, Costco, and Visa. Yeah, I definitely, that way of thinking definitely does resonate with me. And I, you do get an edge if you can have an edge and a greater margin of safety if you're a bit more mindful with valuation. But if you're buying the businesses like the ones you just mentioned, then, yeah, it's like, no matter what, you're probably going to do pretty well across a long period of time. So maybe it's really not worth stressing about. What was I going to say? I was going to say something more on that topic. I don't really know. It's all good. So it's 6:04, guys. Usually we just run this thing for an hour. We'll wrap it up here in just a couple of minutes. Yeah, we'll wrap it up here in just a couple of minutes. So this is a really good question too. I'm having fun answering your guys' questions. You guys are really giving me some good stuff to talk about and think about and think out loud with. So thank you. Um, let's see. Is Costco a stock you envision someday adding to your portfolio? They seem to fit the same way you view Visa. Yeah, but I look at I look at the two and I think, you know what, if I was I don't know, I just think I'd rather put more into Visa, to be honest with you. Instead of having both, I just think, I would just still, I think, rather put more into Visa. And I'm not really hurting for diversification by any means. And so I just don't feel as much of a need um to add something like Costco. And I also, with that said, as a dividend investor, I don't want to have too many stocks that have yields as low as Visa and Costco do. And I know like yield on cost over a long period of time is going to be fine. Um, but still I wouldn't want to and I have a pretty low yield with Apple too. But still, I'd rather just taking dividends into consideration. I don't know that I'd want to add another one like that. I'd rather just put more into Visa. So, and I know they're different companies, and it may be hard to compare, but so I just I'm so hyped on Visa and just thinking about the dividend stats, like comparing the dividend stats, which are pretty similar. Man, I'd just rather put more into Visa. Um, let's see. Let me see if I understand this question. I think it could be an interesting one. Any chance you can help explain weight percentage for individual stocks you own that are also in an ETF to get overall weight? Um, to explain weight. I mean, I'm. Let's see. Are you talking about my portfolio specifically, like the stocks that I own individually, but also have in ETFs, and what's that overlap looking like? Or are you talking about like the universal you? Like when you say you own, are you talking about just like investors at large? What do you? If you could clarify that, that'd be helpful. But I think that's a really interesting question. And real quick, we got to give a quick birthday shout out, guys, to Craig, aka SCHD Stan, aka Leroy Skywalker. Happy birthday, man! Thank you for tuning in, and I'm honored that you chose to spend even just 60 seconds or so here in the Dividend Happy Hour for your birthday. So here's to you, my friend. This one's for you tonight. Cheers. Hope you had a great birthday, and I hope you have a great weekend as well. So happy birthday, man. Um, let's see. Let us see. Korean cardboard. Where was your? There you are. Okay. We got Thomas here. I'm late in here, but I'm going to start from the beginning. Good to see you, man. Um, let's see. This is a good question too. Do you have any swing trades? I like AMD. No swing trades in my portfolio. I think you'll come to find, man. I'm a pretty boring investor. um, yeah, no swing trades, just buying and holding stuff. Um, so yeah, that's where I'm at. Tony D, do you invest in any technology ETFs? I do not invest in any technology ETFs. No, the only tech stock that I have in my portfolio is Apple. Visa, not a tech stock technically. It's not in that sector, but man, there's so much technology behind that company. It might as well be a technology company. Um, oh, there we go. Sophia celebrating 23 wonderful years of being married. Happy anniversary. That's awesome. That's great. And once again, I'm honored that on this special day, you decided to spend it here on the Dividend Happy Hour, even if it's just for a moment. So congratulations. I hope you guys have a good night and do something fun to celebrate. So Salvatore says you need some risk, Ryan. I mean, I don't know that I do. I feel like I've done pretty well with the stocks that I own. I don't know that I need risk. I have ones that have done quite well in terms of share price appreciation. If that's what you're saying, like I need more risk so I can expose myself to the greater potential to generate alpha. And I've done that. Like Williams Sonoma, I don't want to use that. I don't want to keep bringing up bringing that up as an example, but I've only owned that stock for like 7 months. It's already up 50%. Like I'm doing just fine. I'm making money in share price appreciation. I'm making money in dividends. My dividends are growing. I'm fine. I'm really happy with the way things are shaping out in my portfolio. And I certainly don't think I personally need any crypto. I'm investing in a way that I enjoy, and I think that's really what matters at the end of the day. So, yeah, lots of milestones today. Good point, Anthony. Good point. Well, anyway, guys, let's see. 610. Yeah, Tortoise says slow and steady wins the race. No reason to throw on risk just to be doing it. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so. And that more than anything, like I think that would just stress me out. I don't want to be in a position where I have to worry about what the share price is doing every single day. Let's see. This is a good question. We're going to make this the last question of the night because it's about dinner time. What's been the biggest shock to you at the start of What's been the biggest shock to you at the start of this year in the market? Um, I actually would say I'd say the biggest shock so far. There may be more, but this is the first thing that comes to mind. The biggest shock for me actually came within the last couple of days. It's Intel, guys. I was very shocked to see Intel's drop. I know they just came out with earnings. I didn't see exactly what those earnings were. So their guidance wasn't the best, it looks like. Weak guidance, still a bumpy road ahead, which probably is not too surprising. I mean, they're still in the middle of a turnaround. So, they weren't out of the woods quite yet. There's a lot of AI hype around this company, as there are others in the semiconductor space. So it's had a tremendous run up in share price. If we look at the last 6 months, 27%, that's pretty substantial. In the last year, it's up 67% still. But in the last week, it's really come down. So 10% drop. I'd say that's been pretty surprising to see. It went from about $50 a share to 43.65. And I'll tell you what, I sold. You guys will remember I sold Intel right about. I sold Intel somewhere like right in here. I think like early to mid December, or maybe actually more in November, somewhere around here, around 45, $46 a share, somewhere in that range. And I remember talking to Russ and Harris about this. Russ and I were like kind of bummed out a bit that because we both sold around the same time. And, we were bummed. It's like, as soon as we sell, it has a nice run up to $50 per share. But then, I guess it all kind of worked itself out because now it's below, I think, where we both ended up selling at. So, but I'd say that was definitely a very surprising thing for me so far this year. Otherwise, nothing too surprising. Nothing too surprising. I found a really good. I want to share this idea that I had with you guys. I said we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna get out of your guys' hair. I promise. So I just randomly had an idea for a potential investment earlier today, and it's something I've thought about before, but I just hadn't really found like a good opportunity on it. I've always been curious about investing in airports. I just think that's probably that could be a good investment. You go to any city, there's typically only just one airport, so there's not a lot of competition. If there's really no competition for airports in the cities that they're in, and but I just never really know. I don't even know exactly how airports make money. There's a lot that I still need to learn about it, but the shape of the idea was kind of interesting to me. And so I did a little bit of looking today, and I think I found one that seemed kind of interesting at first. It's this stock right here, PAC, Grupo Aero. Let me see. Let me get my Spanish on here. Aeroportario del Pacifico. Anyway, it's an airport group based out of Mexico. Don't mind my Spanish; it's pretty terrible. But I thought this was a really interesting looking business. First and foremost, let's look at the dividend stats. Really nice stats: 5.5% yield, 11% payout ratio, killer growth rate, 4 years of dividend growth. The financials look pretty strong too. I'd say I still need to dive a little bit deeper into it, but really strong revenue and growth. Really strong revenue growth, really strong gross profit margins, actually really strong margins all the way down. and they're expanding over time, 73% to 86% in the last 10 years. Operating income stayed relatively moderate, or the operating margin, I mean. Um, so, but that's looking solid too. Almost a 50% operating margin. Net income margins kind of dwindled over time, it looks like, but still not a bad net income margin. Earnings are growing on a per share basis. That looks great. No share dilution. Low payout ratio. Debt situation looks okay. The one red flag I've seen in the financials so far, and I've spent maybe 3 minutes on this business, guys. So I still have a lot to uncover and a lot to chew on with it, but it's just the shape of an idea that I was excited about. Negative free cash flow in the trailing 12 months. So that is something that I need to that is a little bit of a red flag here. So not entirely great, but otherwise, like I think the cash position's been on the rise. They have more assets. The assets are growing, looking good. Debt's been growing as well, though. The debt has been going up, but it's not too unmanageable, I don't believe. But anyway, let me show you a little bit more about this company, because it's a Mexican airport group, and let me show you. I think it's on this form right here. It'll tell us more about the company. Where was it? Here we go. So they operate 12 airports throughout Mexico's Pacific region, including the major cities of Guadalajara, Tijuana, the oh my God, that was bad. The 4 tourist destinations, Puerto Vallarta, Los Cabos, La Paz, and Manzanillo, and 6 other mid-sized cities. All these right here. So I thought that's pretty cool. I mean, these tourist destinations were what really jumped out to me. And I've been to Puerto Vallarta. I've been to Los Cabos. Like I said, going there in July. This airport's always packed. Every time I've only been there a handful of times, but it's always packed. Big tourist destination. Puerto Vallarta is the same as well. I've never been to La Paz or Manzanillo, but I was at Puerto Vallarta last summer, and airport was packed. Took us a long time to get through customs, and a lot of people. Same thing with Los Cabos. And so anyway, that's pretty interesting to me. And like I said, there's no competition in these cities for airports. It's like you have one airport per city, and but I need to study up a little bit more. But I thought that was kind of an interesting shape of an idea. So I'm going to explore that a little bit more, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I need to learn a little bit more about like the corporate structure in Mexico too, and how those are taxed being a U.S. shareholder. So let's see. What do you guys see here? Yeah, Kevin. 13 minutes overtime. Don't tell him. Yep. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Sorry, Korean cardboard. I'll go back to the airport thing in a moment. SPY has Microsoft at 7%. What if I own an individual? Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's a really good question. So you're on the right track with your calculation, but based on that, if you had, if Microsoft, if you're, let's just use some round numbers here. If Microsoft is 2% of your portfolio and it's also 7% of SPY, that's not going to mean you're going to have a 9% weighting of, it's not going to mean that you're going to have a 9% weighting of Microsoft. You're going to take the percentage of the percentage that SPY is in your portfolio. So for example, if you have a 10% weighting in SPY, sorry guys, I'm trying to think through this. I'm saying it. If you have a 10% weighting of SPY in your portfolio and Microsoft is 7% of that 10%, then just do that calculation, add that number to the 2% weighting that you have of Microsoft in the individual position, and that would be your overall weighting of Microsoft. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I did an okay job of explaining that, but that's how that would work. Let's actually do the math real quick, okay? So I'll do it here on my phone. So 10%, 0.1, Microsoft 10 or SPY 10% weighting, 0.1 times 7% of that, that's going to be times 100. That's going to be 0.7%. So you would add 0.7%. to your 2% Microsoft weighting, and that would mean Microsoft is 2.7% of your overall portfolio. Hopefully that clears it up. And double check me on that, guys. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. That makes sense to me. But yeah, um, if I'm tripping on that, let me know. So El Dynamico, can you repeat the ticker symbol for the airport, please? Yeah, it's ticker symbol PAC. Now, once again, don't take that and just run with it and go buy it right away. Definitely do your own due diligence and look into it. I have spent 2 minutes with this company. 2 minutes. Not a long time at all. It was just a shape of an idea. I think the idea of investing in an airport is cool. And I could see it being a wide moat type of business, but I need to learn so much more about how these businesses operate because I don't know. I do not know. I think one of the potential risks is obviously tourist traffic, or traffic. Traffic in general is a risk. So yeah, and then there's definitely going to be some geopolitical risk as well with a company like this, where especially where I don't understand the relationship between businesses and the gut. Anyway, there's just a lot to figure out. So um let's see. Dorte says Copenhagen Airport might be something for you. Ticker CPHKBHL. I don't know if I can find that on Seeking Alpha. I don't know if I'll be able to. I probably won't have access to that because it's just not on like one of the exchanges here in the States. Okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Rich says I heard the New Mexico, not the state. The new Mexico City. Why am I having such trouble with this? City airport is a flop. I know nothing about that. I didn't even know they had a new airport, but yeah, guys, we're gonna wrap it up there. Some really good questions tonight. I could go for a whole nother hour and be just fine, but all good things must end, I suppose. But I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me these last 80 minutes or so. Really fun stream tonight. And I appreciate all your guys' time. Happy birthday, happy anniversary. Congratulations to all you guys out there doing great jobs in your portfolios, keeping up the good work. What else? Couple things before we sign off. Once again, sign up for the newsletter. Definitely check that out. The most recent newsletter articles in the description. You can sign up right there. Let's see. I got my dividend income video for the month coming out on Sunday. Really good month of dividends this month, guys. I'm excited to share with you all the dividend payments. I only got 6 dividend payments, but each one really was a pretty hefty payment. So I'm excited to share all those with you guys. And what else we got? Yeah, tune into that video on Sunday. No Walk to 100 live stream on Monday. So once again, no live stream on Monday. And yeah, I don't know, just in general, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend and definitely stay out of trouble.